Have you ever faced a moment when everything seemed impossible, yet you found hope in the smallest acts of kindness? This is the story of Lena, a mother who would stop at nothing to save her son. Lena lived in a small, quiet village surrounded by towering mountains. Her life wasn't easy, but she had one reason to keep going: her son, Tessin. Tessin was her world, but he had fallen gravely ill. The only thing that could save him was medicine, which Lena could not afford. With determination burning in her heart, Lena decided to weave the most beautiful shawl anyone had ever seen. She worked tirelessly, pouring love, hope, and prayers into every stitch. Each thread told a story: of sunrise over the mountains, of her unyielding love for her son, and of her desperate hope to save him. After many sleepless nights, the shawl was finally complete. It shimmered like the morning sun and carried the beauty of the mountains. "This will save Tessin," Lena whispered, clutching it tightly. But the journey ahead was far from easy. Lena had to travel through the forest to reach the town market, where she hoped to sell her shawl for enough money to buy the medicine. Little did she know, this journey would test her courage and kindness in ways she never imagined. On a chilly morning, Lena set out on the steep forest path with the shawl tucked safely in her basket. The air was biting cold, and the trail was rough, but Lena didn't stop. She thought about Tessin, lying pale and weak at home. His laughter, once so bright, now echoed only in her memories. The forest was alive with whispers of the wind through the tall trees. Rays of sunlight peeked through the canopy, painting the ground with patches of light and shadow. As Lena walked, she couldn't help but think about the many nights she had stayed up weaving. Her fingers still ached from the effort, but her heart was filled with determination. Each step was heavy, but Lena reminded herself why she was doing this. "Tessin needs me," she whispered. The thought of his small, fragile hands clutching hers gave her the strength to keep going. Hours later, the forest path opened into a view of the bustling town below. The sounds of the market reached her ears: laughter, chatter, and merchants calling out their wares. Lena's heart raced with a mix of anxiety and hope. Would anyone recognize the value of her shawl? Would it be enough to save Tessin? Little did she know, the town held challenges and surprises that would change her life forever. Lena stepped into the town market, a place bursting with life. Merchants called out, boasting about their goods. The smell of fresh bread and spices filled the air, and children weaved through the crowd, their laughter ringing out like bells. Clutching her shawl, Lena felt a mix of excitement and nervousness. She scanned the market, looking for someone who might buy her creation. Her heart pounded as she approached a merchant with a kind face. "Excuse me," she said softly, unfolding the shawl to show him. The merchant's eyes widened as he studied the intricate patterns and vibrant colors. "This is exquisite," he murmured, running his fingers over the delicate fabric. "I've never seen anything like it." Lena's heart soared. "Thank you," she said, her voice trembling. After a moment of thought, the merchant offered her a generous sum of money. Lena couldn't believe her luck. The amount was more than she had hoped for. It was enough to buy the medicine and more. Tears of relief filled her eyes as she carefully tucked the money into her pouch. But before leaving the market, something unexpected caught Lena's attention. A small, shivering figure by the roadside. Lena noticed an old beggar woman sitting near the market's edge. The woman's tattered clothes barely shielded her from the cold, and her frail hands trembled as she tried to stay warm. Lena's heart ached at the sight. Despite her own struggles, Lena couldn't ignore the woman's suffering. She glanced at her pouch, now heavy with the money she had earned. Then she looked at a nearby stall selling shawls. Lena approached the vendor and chose a simple but warm shawl. "This one, please," she said, handing over a small part of her earnings. She walked back to the beggar woman and knelt beside her. "Here," Lena said gently, wrapping the shawl around the woman's shoulders. The old woman looked up, her eyes brimming with tears. "Thank you," she whispered. "May the gods bless you for your kindness." Lena smiled softly. "Stay warm," she said, before turning to leave. Little did Lena know, this small act of kindness would come back to her in ways she could never have expected. As she made her way out of the market, her heart felt lighter, knowing she had helped someone in need. But fate had a cruel twist waiting for her. As Lena walked through the bustling market, clutching her money pouch tightly, she felt a sudden tug. Before she could react, a young boy darted past her, the pouch now clutched in his hands. "Stop! Thief!" Lena cried, but the boy was too fast. He disappeared into the crowd, leaving Lena standing there, stunned and heartbroken. She sank to the ground, tears streaming down her face. All her hard work, all her hopes for Tessin's recovery. It was all gone in an instant. The weight of despair crushed her. How would she save her son now? The vibrant market around her seemed to blur. The laughter, the chatter, the smells. It all faded into the background as Lena sat there, overwhelmed by her loss. Just when she thought she couldn't take another step, a hand gently touched her shoulder. Lena looked up to see a kind-faced woman kneeling beside her. "Are you all right?" the woman asked, her voice filled with concern. Through her tears, Lena explained what had happened. She told the woman about her sick son, the shawl she had woven, and how the money had been stolen. Her voice trembled as she spoke, the pain of her loss etched in every word. The woman's eyes softened with sympathy. "I'm so sorry," she said, "but don't lose hope. Come with me. I'll try to help." Lena hesitated but allowed the woman to guide her through the market. They stopped at a small stall where the woman spoke quietly to the vendor. The vendor listened intently, his expression turning thoughtful. After a moment, the vendor handed Lena a small pouch. "It's not much," he said, "but I hope it helps." Lena's hands trembled as she accepted the pouch. It wasn't enough to buy the medicine, but it was something. She looked at the woman and the vendor, tears of gratitude in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered. "I don't know how I can ever repay your kindness." "Kindness has a way of coming full circle," the woman said with a gentle smile. "Just remember to pass it on." Though Lena's heart was still heavy, the woman's words gave her a small glimmer of hope. Meanwhile, the boy who had stolen Lena's pouch ran through the crowded streets, clutching his prize tightly. His heart raced, not with guilt, but with excitement. He couldn't wait to show his mother what he had taken. When he finally reached their small, run-down home, he burst through the door. "Look, Ma," he exclaimed, holding out the pouch. "I got this for us. Now we can buy food and clothes." His mother, a frail woman who sat on a worn mat by the fire, looked up in surprise. She took the pouch from his hands and opened it. As she stared at its contents, her expression changed from shock to disbelief. "Where did you get this?" she asked, her voice trembling. "I took it," the boy said proudly, "from a woman in the market." The woman's hands began to shake as she realized what her son had done. Tears welled up in her eyes. "Do you know what you've done?" she asked, her voice breaking. "This pouch belongs to someone who helped us today, someone who had so little but still gave us kindness." The boy's excitement faded as he saw the sorrow in his mother's eyes. I didn't know," he whispered, his voice small. The woman placed a hand on his shoulder. "We must make this right," she said firmly. "Come with me. We're going to find her and return this." The boy and his mother set out into the market, carrying the pouch with them. They asked every vendor and passerby if they had seen the woman the boy had stolen from. She was wearing a gray shawl, his mother described. "She's young, with tired eyes." At first, the villagers were reluctant to help. Many had seen the boy running through the streets, clutching the pouch. But as they saw the sincerity in the mother's eyes and the guilt on the boy's face, they softened. "She went that way," one vendor said, pointing toward the forest path. Guided by the villagers' directions, the boy and his mother made their way toward Lena's humble home. Each step was heavy with guilt and determination. The boy clutched the pouch tightly, his head hanging low. "What if she doesn't forgive me?" he asked softly. "Then you'll learn a lesson," his mother said. "But I believe she will. A woman who can give to others when she has so little must have a kind heart." The boy nodded, though doubt still lingered in his mind. As they approached Lena's home, the boy's heart raced. He felt a mix of fear and hope, unsure of what awaited him. Finally, they reached her doorstep. The boy hesitated before knocking, his hands trembling. Inside her small home, Lena sat by the fire, lost in thought. The pouch from the kind vendor rested on the table, but it wasn't enough to buy the medicine Tessin needed. Her heart ached as she looked at her son, who lay in bed, his breathing shallow. A knock on the door startled her. Who could it be at this hour? Rising slowly, Lena opened the door. Standing before her were the boy and his mother. The boy's head was bowed, and in his hands, he held the pouch he had stolen. "I'm sorry," the boy said, his voice trembling. I didn't know you had helped my mother. I was just trying to help her too." Lena stared at him in surprise, then looked at the woman. Recognition dawned in her eyes. It was the beggar woman she had helped in the market. The woman stepped forward, her eyes filled with tears. "My son made a terrible mistake," she said, "but we're here to make it right." The boy held out the pouch, his hands shaking. Lena took it slowly, her eyes filling with tears. Lena's heart swelled with emotion as she held the pouch. She looked at the boy, who still wouldn't meet her gaze. Then softly, she said, "You've done the right thing by returning this. That's what matters most." The boy finally looked up, his eyes filled with guilt and relief. "I'm so sorry," he whispered. Lena placed a gentle hand on his shoulder. "We all make mistakes," she said. "What matters is that you've learned from it." The boy nodded, his heart lighter than it had been in days. The woman too thanked Lena profusely. "Your kindness saved us earlier today," she said. "I'll never forget what you did for me." Lena smiled faintly. "Kindness has a way of coming back around," she said, echoing the words she had heard earlier that day. The boy and his mother left, their hearts filled with gratitude and resolve. As the boy and his mother disappeared down the path, Lena stood at the door for a moment, clutching the pouch. A sense of relief washed over her, but there was no time to waste. Tessin needed the medicine. Lena quickly gathered her things and left for the village healer. The journey felt lighter now, as though the weight on her heart had lifted. The pouch jingled softly with every step, a reminder of the kindness and redemption she had witnessed. When she reached the healer's home, she handed over the money with trembling hands. The healer, a wise old man, prepared the medicine carefully, explaining how it would help Tessin recover. "This will ease his breathing and strengthen his body," he said. Lena held the small vial close to her chest, whispering a prayer of gratitude. The healer smiled kindly. Your love for your son brought you here. That kind of strength is rare, he said. With the medicine in hand, Lena hurried back home. Every step felt urgent, her heart pounding with a mixture of hope and fear. She couldn't wait to see her son's face again, to tell him that help was finally here. The forest seemed friendlier this time, its shadows less foreboding. Lena felt as though the world was finally on her side. Little did she know, the journey was only the beginning of the miracle that awaited her. When Lena returned home, Tessin lay in bed, his breathing shallow and his face pale. His small frame seemed so fragile, like a delicate flower wilting under the weight of illness. Lena knelt beside him, holding his hand gently. "Tessin," she whispered, her voice trembling with emotion. "I have the medicine now. You'll feel better soon." Tessin's eyes fluttered open, and he looked at her with a faint smile. "Mama?" he said weakly, his voice barely audible. With steady hands, Lena measured the first dose of the medicine and brought it to Tessin's lips. "Drink this, my love," she said softly. "It will make you stronger." Tessin obediently sipped the medicine, his eyes closing as he relaxed back into the pillows. Lena sat by his side, watching every breath he took. Slowly, his breathing seemed to ease, and a faint color returned to his cheeks. Tears streamed down Lena's face. It was only a small change, but it was enough to fill her heart with hope. She stayed by Tessin's side through the night, holding his hand and whispering soothing words. As the hours passed, Lena realized how much she had fought to reach this moment. The shawl, the market, the thief, all of it had led her here, to this fragile glimmer of hope that her son would recover. The next morning, Lena awoke to the sound of Tessin stirring in his bed. Her eyes flew open, and she quickly leaned over to check on him. His cheeks, once pale and hollow, had a faint, rosy hue. His breathing, though still shallow, was more even than it had been in weeks. "Mama?" Tessin murmured, his voice a little stronger than the day before. "I feel better." Lena's heart swelled with joy. "Oh, my darling," she said, tears streaming down her face. "You're getting stronger already." She prepared another dose of the medicine and helped Tessin drink it. As the day went on, he managed to sit up for short moments, even asking for a bit of food. Lena couldn't believe the change. It was as if the light had returned to their home. Neighbors began stopping by to check on Lena and Tessin, bringing small gifts of food and kind words. Word of Lena's struggle and the boy's redemption had spread throughout the village, and people wanted to help. Tessin's laughter, soft but unmistakable, filled the home for the first time in weeks. It was a sound that melted Lena's heart and brought tears to her eyes. She silently thanked the gods, the kind strangers, and even the boy who had stolen from her. It seemed that hope and kindness had truly worked a miracle. Elsewhere in the village, the boy who had stolen Lena's pouch was also undergoing a transformation. He couldn't stop thinking about Lena's forgiveness. Her words, "What matters is that you've learned from it," echoed in his mind. He spent the days helping his mother, collecting firewood and fetching water from the nearby well. He even returned to the market to assist the vendors he had once avoided out of fear of being caught. One day, as he walked past the healer's home, he saw Lena stepping out. She held Tessin's hand, and the boy looked much healthier than before. The boy hesitated, unsure if he should approach them, but Lena saw him and smiled warmly. "Hello," she said, her voice kind. The boy shuffled nervously. "How is your son?" he asked softly. "He's much better, thanks to the medicine," Lena said. "And thanks to you." for doing the right thing. The boy's eyes widened. "I'm glad," he said, his voice filled with emotion. "I'll never steal again. I promise." Lena nodded. "Keep that promise and you'll make your mother proud." As the boy walked away, he felt a newfound sense of purpose. He realized that kindness wasn't just about giving. It was about doing what was right, even when it was hard. Life in the village slowly returned to normal. But for Lena and Tessin, everything felt different. Tessin's strength grew with each passing day. Soon he was running through the fields again, chasing butterflies and filling the air with his laughter. Lena watched him with a heart full of gratitude. She often thought about the journey that had brought them here. The shawl, the market, the theft, and the boy's redemption. Every moment, no matter how difficult, had led to this joyful new chapter in their lives. The villagers, too, seemed to carry the story in their hearts. They spoke of Lena's determination, the boy's change of heart, and the kindness that had connected them all. It became a tale they shared with one another, a reminder that even in the hardest times, hope and compassion could prevail. As for the boy, he kept his promise. He grew into an honest, hard-working young man, helping his mother and earning the respect of the village. He often remembered Lena's forgiveness and carried it with him as a guiding light. Lena, too, never forgot the kindness shown to her by strangers. She continued to pay it forward, helping those in need whenever she could. This story reminds us that even small acts of kindness can create ripples that touch countless lives. In the end, it is love, forgiveness, and compassion that make the world a better place.